Look, I've been a tour guide at the Galactic Zenith Zoo for 7 cycles now, and I thought I'd seen everything. My name is Clev. I'm a Vexian. That's 4 arms, 2 hearts, and approximately 900 reasons to be anxious at any given moment. And today I was about to add a reason number 901 to that list. The Galactic Zenith Zoo, for those of you fortunate enough to have never visited, is the crown jewel of the Interstellar Zoological Society. We're stationed on Harmony 7, a diplomatic hub where 17 species pretend to get along while passive-aggressively arguing about trade routes. The zoo was built as a symbol of unity, cooperation, and our shared appreciation for the galaxy's biodiversity. In reality, it's where we keep the most horrifying creatures we've ever discovered behind force fields and pray they don't figure out how to escape. And our pride and joy, the Deathworld Predator wing. Now, for context, in the entire explored galaxy, we've only identified 43 planets classified as death worlds. These are planets where evolution apparently woke up one morning and chose violence. Every single organism on these planets is trying to kill every other organism, and somehow they've created ecosystems so hostile that our survey teams require military escorts just to collect soil samples. The Deathworld Predator wing houses apex hunters from these nightmare planets. We're talking about creatures that sit at the very top of food chains, so brutal that most civilized species need therapy just from watching the documentary footage. The plasma tigers from Infernus 6, the void serpents from the methane swamps of Dread 9, and of course the star of our collection, the razor claw lynx from Kepler 442b, which has killed 3 handlers and requires a specialized sedation team just so we can clean its enclosure. Maximum security, force fields, redundant containment systems, panic buttons every 3 meters. I've given this tour 216 times. And every single group of students has the appropriate reaction, which is abject terror, followed by newfound respect for xenobiologists who study these things for a living. Today's group, however, was special. Today, I was guiding students from the recently contacted human colony, Earth's Expansion Program, they called it. Humanity had finally joined the galactic community about 3 cycles ago. And High Command had been very clear in the briefing: be polite, be professional, and whatever you do, don't mention the incident with the human freighter captain who arm wrestled a Krogthar enforcer and won. Humans had a reputation. I'd heard the stories. They come from a garden world, they said, mild climate, reasonable gravity, abundant resources. But there was something about them that made the veteran diplomats nervous, though no one could quite articulate what. They just kept using phrases like concerning pain tolerance and alarming problem-solving methods, and why would anyone willingly consume capsaicin? As I stood at the entrance to the Deathworld Predator wing, tablet clutched in my upper right hand, I reminded myself that this was just another tour. The force fields were rated for creatures that could punch through starship hulls. What could possibly go wrong? That's when the humans arrived, and I discovered that the universe has a very specific sense of humor, and that sense of humor hates me personally. The human school group came around the corner like a small, chaotic storm system, and my first thought was, these are children? 20 of them, ages 8 to 10, according to my manifest, wearing matching bright yellow shirts that said Meadowbrook Elementary Field Trip in that peculiar human alphabet. They were loud, not concerningly loud, but that specific frequency of loud that suggests none of them have had their afternoon snack yet, and at least 3 are planning something. Leading this parade of tiny chaos was their teacher, a human male named Mr. Patterson, who had the exhausted expression of someone who has made a series of choices in life and is currently reevaluating all of them. "Welcome, welcome," I said, forcing all 4 of my arms into what I hoped was a welcoming gesture. The human children stared at me. One of them pointed. Another one whispered something that made 5 others giggle. Mr. Patterson closed his eyes briefly like he was praying to whatever deity humans worship. I am Clev, and I'll be your guide through the Galactic Zenith Zoo's most exclusive exhibit, the Deathworld Predator Wing. The Vortellian students who'd come through an hour ago had gasped at this announcement. 2 had clutched their guardian's appendages. One had asked if they could wait outside. The humans just sort of looked around. One kid yawned. This wing, I continued, determined to get the appropriate reaction, houses the most dangerous apex predators ever discovered in our explored galaxy. These creatures represent millions of years of evolution dedicated to one single purpose: perfect lethality. A small human girl with dark braids raised her hand. "Do you have a bathroom?" Mr. Patterson pointed down the hall. "You went 20 minutes ago, Maya." "Yeah, but I might need to go again." I pressed on. We approached the first exhibit, and I launched into my carefully rehearsed speech. Behold the plasma tigers of Infernus 6, a volcanic hellscape, where the atmosphere itself is toxic to most carbon-based life forms. These magnificent predators can generate bioelectric charges of up to 50,000 volts, which they use to stun prey before— "Mr. Patterson, I'm hungry," a boy in the back announced. "Tommy, you ate lunch 45 minutes ago." "Yeah, but I'm hungry again." The other alien children in previous tours would be pressed against the back wall by now, eyes wide with appropriate fear. The plasma tiger chose that moment to roar, a sound that our audio dampeners reduced from liquefying to merely deeply unsettling. It prowled along the force field barrier, electricity crackling across its crystalline fangs. The human children watched with mild interest. One of them took a picture with their communication device. Fine. Maybe plasma tigers weren't impressive to a species that apparently produces children with the self-preservation instincts of a malfunctioning cargo drone. We moved on to the void serpents, massive tentacled horrors from the methane swamps of Dread 9 that can dislocate their jaws to swallow prey 3 times their body diameter. These creatures, I said, really putting some emphasis into it now, have been known to attack survey ships, crushing titanium hulls with constriction forces exceeding— "Cool," Tommy said. He was eating chips. Where did he get chips? We don't sell chips until the gift shop. Mr. Patterson confiscated the chips. Tommy looked betrayed. The Craxian students last week had needed to sit down during the Void Serpent segment. 2 had left to call their parents. The humans were having what appeared to be a heated debate about whether the creature looked more like something from that one video game or those noodles from the place on 5th Street. I was starting to sweat from my tertiary glands, which is never a good sign. But okay. I still had the finale. I still had the razor claw links. Nothing, and I mean nothing, failed to impress when viewers saw the razor claw links. It was our star attraction, our nightmare made flesh, the reason we had the security budget of a small military installation. I led the group to the final chamber, and as we walked, I noticed something troubling. The human children weren't just unimpressed. They seemed confused. Maya kept squinting at the exhibits like she was trying to remember something. Another kid, a boy with red hair named Jason, had his face scrunched up in concentration. "Mr. Patterson?" Jason whispered, though I heard him perfectly well with my enhanced auditory receptors. "Is it just me, or does something seem weird here?" Mr. Patterson, to his credit, was studying the exhibits with growing concern, but he just sighed and said, "Let's just get through the tour, please." We entered the razor claw chamber, and I prepared to deliver the performance of my career. If anything would get the appropriate fear response, it would be this. It had to be this. Because if the humans weren't afraid of the razor claw links, then I was going to need to update my resume. And the job market for four-armed tour guides was not great right now. The razor claw links enclosure is designed for maximum dramatic impact. The lights dim as you enter. Ominous music plays. We licensed it from a Thelian horror composer who specializes in existential dread, minor key. The force field barrier hums with enough power to contain a small spacecraft, and there are warning signs in 17 languages, all of them featuring the universal symbol for this creature will absolutely end you. I'd rehearsed this speech so many times I could deliver it in my sleep. In fact, I had delivered it in my sleep, according to my podmate, who was getting tired of being woken up at 3 in the morning to hear about Kepler 442b's hostile ecosystem. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored students, I began, using my most dramatic voice, the one I'd practiced specifically for this moment. What you're about to witness is the apex predator of Kepler 442b, a planet so hostile that our initial survey team lasted 6 hours before requesting emergency extraction. Of the 15 xenobiologists who studied this planet's fauna, 11 required extensive psychological counseling. 3 quit the field entirely. One became a poet, and his work is very disturbing. The other alien children, a small group of Vexian and Trilaxian youngsters who'd joined the tour, were already backing up. Perfect. Is it the razor claw links? I continued, gesturing with 3 of my 4 arms toward the shadowy enclosure, is a hypercarnivore possessing retractable claws coated in a natural neurotoxin, reflexes operating at 4 times the speed of most sentient species, and hunting instincts so refined that it can track prey across 17 kilometers using scent alone. This particular specimen killed 3 of our handlers during the initial containment process. We now require a full sedation team just to clean its enclosure. It has never, not once, failed to attack anything that enters its space. On cue, the razor claw lynx emerged from the shadows, 2 meters long, sleek and powerful, with luminescent eyes that tracked movement with unnerving precision. Its coat was a pattern of dark spots and stripes designed for ambush hunting. As it moved, you could see the play of muscles under its fur, every inch of it built for explosive violence. It opened its mouth, revealing fangs that could puncture carbon steel plating, and released a sound that our xenobiologists had classified as a threat vocalization of extreme hostility. The Vexian children squeaked in terror. One Trilaxian started crying. I felt a deep sense of professional satisfaction. Then Tommy raised his hand. Yes, I said, basking in what I assumed was going to be a question about emergency protocols or perhaps a request to move further back from the barrier. Why do you have housecats here? I blinked, all 4 of my eyes independently in complete confusion. I'm sorry, what? Housecats, Tommy repeated, pointing at the razor claw lynx like he was identifying a particularly uninteresting cloud formation. That's just a cat. Why is it in the scary predator exhibit? Maya leaned forward, squinting. Oh my gosh, he's right. That's literally just Mr. Whiskers. Mr. Whiskers? I felt my primary heart rate increasing to dangerous levels. My cat, Maya explained, as if this was the most reasonable thing in the universe. He looks exactly like that. Well, Mr. Whiskers has a white spot on his chest, but otherwise same cat. That is not, I said, and I could hear my voice getting higher, which was unprofessional, but I was having what medical professionals call a moment, a house cat. This is a razor claw lynx from Kepler 442b, a Class 12 Deathworld, and it is one of the most dangerous— dude, we have those on Earth, Jason interrupted. That's a Bengal cat. My neighbor has 2 of them. They're like $800 at the breeder. You can buy these? One of the Trilaxian children shrieked. Yeah, at PetSmart, another human girl said helpfully. Or you can adopt them from the shelter. That's what we did with Snowball. The human children were now pulling out their communication devices, phones they called them, and showing me pictures of creatures identical to the razor claw lynx, sitting on furniture wearing small hats. One was in a sunny window, belly up, completely vulnerable, while a tiny human child petted it. See? Maya held up her phone. That's Mr. Whiskers. He likes to sleep on my bed, and sometimes he brings us dead birds as presents, which Mom says is gross, but I think it's nice that he shares. Dead birds, I repeated faintly. Oh yeah, cats are murder machines, Tommy said cheerfully. My cat killed a rabbit once. It was like way bigger than him. He just left it on the porch. Dad said it was a dominance thing. The razor claw lynx, no, apparently just a cat, chose that moment to do something that made my tertiary heart stop entirely. It sat down, yawned widely, showing all of its neurotoxin-coated fangs, and began grooming itself with one paw. "Ah, he's cleaning himself," Maya cooed. "Mr. Whiskers does that too. Usually at 3 in the morning, on my face." "On your face?" I was pretty sure I was experiencing several medical emergencies simultaneously. "They're nocturnal," Mr. Patterson said in the tone of someone who has explained this many, many times. "It's a thing. You let apex predators walk on your face while you're unconscious?" The Trilaxian student who'd been crying was now full-on wailing. "Well, yeah," Tommy said. "I mean, what are you going to do? They're cats. They do what they want." Jason was now pointing at other enclosures visible from the viewing area. "Hey, wait a second. Are those spiders?" "The venomous arachnids of Titan 9, I said weakly, "capable of delivering a neurotoxic bite that can paralyze—" "Those are garden spiders," Jason said flatly. "We have those in our backyard. Hundreds of them." "Hundreds." "Yeah, they eat mosquitoes. Mom says they're good to have around." Maya had wandered over to another viewing window. "And that dog-looking thing, is that a beagle?" I looked where she was pointing, at the canine ripper, the terror of Proxima Station, the creature that had mauled 2 security officers during transport. "That is a canine ripper from—" "That's a beagle," Maya said with absolute certainty. "My grandma has 3 of them. They're really loud, and they eat literally everything. And one time Chester ate an entire birthday cake off the counter." "The canine ripper has a bite force that can crush bone," I whispered. "Yeah, sounds like a beagle." I looked at Mr. Patterson, silently begging him to tell me this was some kind of human humor that I wasn't understanding, some kind of joke. Mr. Patterson looked at the exhibits, then at me, then back at the exhibits. "Oh no," he said quietly. "What?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. "I think we need to talk to your supervisor." Director Quentha arrived in under 3 minutes, which was impressive considering her office was on the other side of the station. She's a Trilaxian, which means she's basically a floating jellyfish in a mobility sphere, and she takes her job very, very seriously. She'd worn her formal sash, the one that said Director of Xenobiological Conservation in embroidered script, because Quentha believes that authority is maintained through proper presentation. She was not prepared for 20 human children pointing at our most prized exhibits and calling them pets. "There has clearly been a misunderstanding," Quentha said in her most diplomatic voice, the one she uses when the Galactic Council is threatening budget cuts. "I can assure you that these specimens were collected from authenticated Deathworld environments following strict protocols." "Yeah, but they're from Earth," Tommy interrupted, "because human children apparently have no concept of letting authority figures finish speaking." Quentha's chromophores flickered, which is Trilaxian for experiencing stress. Earth is classified as a Class 3 garden world. Mild climate, reasonable biodiversity, suitable for colonization. Earth has tigers that can eat you, spiders that can kill you, snakes that can kill you, jellyfish that can kill you, plants that can kill you. And one time a guy in Australia punched a kangaroo, Jason said. "It's basically all death world." Australia, several human children said in unison with the reverent tone usually reserved for religious sites. "What?" I asked because I couldn't help myself. "Is Australia?" "It's where everything is more deadly," Maya explained. "My uncle lives there. He has to check his shoes for spiders every morning. Not like little spiders, big ones, huntsman spiders." "How big?" one of the Vexian children whispered. Maya held up her hands about 20 centimeters apart. 2 alien children fainted. "But that's not even the worst part," Tommy added helpfully. "They also have these things called drop bears." "Drop bears aren't real, Tommy," Mr. Patterson said tiredly. "That's what they want you to think, Mr. Patterson." Quentha was going through the exhibits on her data pad, her manipulator tendrils moving faster and faster. "The venomous arachnids were collected from Titan 9 after they killed 2 survey team members." "Garden spiders," Jason confirmed. "Totally harmless. Well, unless you're a mosquito." The canine ripper was captured after a 3-week hunt involving military-grade tranquilizers. "Beagle," Maya said. You probably just needed some treats and a squeaky toy. The razor claw lynx, Quentha was almost shouting now, which was unlike her, has a documented body count of a cat, all 20 human children said together. There was a long, horrible silence. When, Quentha said very carefully, did the Interstellar Zoological Society survey Earth? Mr. Patterson pulled out his phone, did some quick research. According to this, first contact was made 3 cycles ago, but there were several survey missions before that. The earliest one was, 247 years ago. Pre-contact protocol, Quentha said faintly. We surveyed before introducing ourselves. And you classified these as Deathworld Predators, Mr. Patterson said slowly. They killed the survey team, I protested. Multiple teams. Yeah, Tommy said. Cats kill like 2.4 billion birds a year just in the United States. They're adorable little murder machines. The Trilaxian child, who'd been crying earlier, had now progressed to full hysterics. Quentha pulled Mr. Patterson, myself, and our head of security into a side office while the human children pressed their faces against the force fields, taking selfies with what they kept calling pretty kitty and good boy and other phrases that suggested dangerous psychological disconnection from reality. See, explain to me. Quentha said, her chromophores cycling through colors I'd never seen before, which probably meant she was inventing new emotional states. How your species coexists with these creatures? Mr. Patterson shrugged. We domesticated them. Well, cats kind of domesticated themselves about 10,000 years ago. Dogs we've been breeding for like 30,000 years. Breeding them, I repeated. You're intentionally making more of them. Well, yeah, they're companions, pets. My daughter has a cat, a dog, and a hamster. The hamster is honestly more disturbing than the other two, if I'm being honest. Those eyes, man. But the survey teams, Quentha said desperately. They were killed. We have documented evidence, mission logs, death certificates. Oh, I believe you, Mr. Patterson said. Cats are responsible for multiple extinctions on Earth. They're apex predators with insane reflexes and hunting instincts. Dogs, depending on the breed, can be incredibly dangerous. We just grew up with them. We know how to handle them. How? I demanded. How do you handle an apex predator? You feed them, pet them, give them toys, and take them to the vet for checkups. Mr. Patterson counted off on his fingers. For dogs, you train them. Positive reinforcement mostly. For cats, you just accept that they own you and you're living in their house. You're living in their house? It's a joke, mostly. Mr. Patterson paused. My cat does sleep on my pillow, though, and if I move him, he bites me. So you... No, complicated relationship. And the canine ripper? Quentha asked. The one that required military intervention. Beagles are stubborn and food-motivated, Mr. Patterson said. One time my sister's beagle ate an entire Thanksgiving turkey off the counter, whole thing. We found him under the table, bloated like a tick, completely unrepentant. They're relentless when they smell food. So your survey team probably had rations, I said, the horrible realization dawning. And the beagle smelled them, tracked them, and wouldn't stop until it got the food. Yeah, that tracks. No pun intended. Quentha brought up the mission logs on her display. The team reported being stalked for 3 days. The creature was relentless, appearing at their camp repeatedly despite deterrent measures. Yep, beagle. Mr. Patterson nodded. They probably tried everything except just giving it some food and throwing a ball. Did they try throwing a ball? They were running for their lives. Right, well, that would just activate the prey drive. Common mistake. I sat down, which is difficult with 4 arms, but I managed. You're telling me that your species lives with these creatures voluntarily in your homes, around your children. I mean, they're domesticated, Mr. Patterson said. Mostly harmless if you treat them right. Mostly? Look, cats scratch sometimes. Dogs can bite if they're scared or poorly trained. But generally speaking, they're safe. We've bred most of the danger out of them over thousands of years. He paused. Though, honestly, between you and me, I think cats just tolerate us because we have opposable thumbs and can open the food cans. But Earth, Quintha said, pulling up the classification records. Earth is a Class 3 garden world. Mr. Patterson looked uncomfortable. Who did that classification? The initial survey team, the ones who survived. The ones who survived encounters with housecats and beagles classified Earth as a garden world. Mr. Patterson's expression suggested he was doing some rapid mental recalculation. What else is on Earth that they didn't encounter? We all looked at each other. Oh no, I said. Oh no, Quintha agreed. From the main hall, we heard Maya's voice. Mr. Patterson, can we go to the gift shop? I want to get a stuffed animal that looks like Mr. Whiskers. Hey, and I want to know if they have any actual dangerous animals, Tommy added, like bears or something. What, Quintha asked faintly, is a bear? Mr. Patterson closed his eyes. You really don't want to know. It took 45 minutes to evacuate the non-human students. The Tralaxian children had to be carried out by their guardians, still sobbing about the murder beasts that humans kept as friends. The Vexian youngsters filed out in traumatized silence, occasionally looking back at the human children with expressions that suggested they were reconsidering everything they'd learned about the galaxy's power structure. The human children, meanwhile, were having the time of their lives. They'd convinced security to let them get closer to the force fields. For educational purposes, Mr. Patterson had said, though he looked like he was regretting every decision that had led to this moment. Maya was making kissy noises at the razor claw lynx, who had rolled over and was purring. The sound registered on our audio equipment as seismic warning level threat display. He likes me, Maya announced proudly. Tommy had moved on to the canine ripper enclosure and was asking detailed questions about whether we'd tried teaching it tricks, because his neighbor's beagle knew 12 commands and could open doors, which seemed relevant to the 3 escape attempts mentioned in the safety briefing. I was processing the incident report paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork when you accidentally reveal that your multi-billion credit zoo is essentially showcasing someone else's pets. When Quintha appeared beside me, her mobility sphere humming with what I interpreted as existential resignation. High Command has been notified, she said quietly, and they're sending a xenobiological team to Earth. A proper survey, one that ventures beyond the, and I quote, parts with the friendly murder animals. So Earth might be reclassified? Earth is being reclassified. The only question is whether it's a Class 8 or Class 12 death world. She paused. They're also asking why we approved humans for galactic integration without a complete planetary assessment. I watched Tommy try to teach the canine ripper to sit through the force field using hand signals and a granola bar he'd smuggled in his pocket. The creature was watching him with intense focus, tail wagging in a way our behavioral specialists had previously interpreted as pre-attack threat display. You know what the worst part is? I said. What? High Command said humans were cleared for galactic integration. They never mentioned humans were the reason it's a death world. Quintha's chromophores flickered in what might have been agreement or possibly a minor stroke. The human children finally left, escorted by a very tired Mr. Patterson, who was explaining that no, they could not adopt any of the exhibits, and no, the gift shop did not sell live animals, and yes, he was absolutely calling their parents about the field trip behavior reports he was definitely filing. At the exit, Maya's mother was waiting, a human female who looked remarkably calm for someone picking up a child from a Deathworld Predator exhibit. "How was the field trip, sweetie?" she asked. "Good, they had Mr. Whiskers there," Maya said, bouncing with excitement. "Well, not our Mr. Whiskers, but one that looked just like him, and they thought he was scary. Can you believe it? Mr. Whiskers, the one who's afraid of the vacuum cleaner." "That's nice, dear." "Oh, and Mom?" Maya paused at the door. "Can we get a dog? Everyone says beagles are really fun." I put my head down on my desk, all 4 arms spread out in defeat, and wondered if there were any openings for tour guides at the botanical gardens. At least plants couldn't recontextualize your entire understanding of galactic threat assessment. Probably, but I made a note to check if any Earth plants were in the botanical gardens, just in case.